And so the prisoner scores another victory against his captors, although it's a victory that gains him no direct progress toward escape. Since It's Your Funeral is basically an intrigue in the village episode, we thought it might be fitting to talk a bit about the village, the real village, the place where the prisoner was filmed, Portmeirion, Wales. Our point of departure on a journey to the village begins in London, England, where we board a train at Euston Station, take a 4.5-hour ride to the northwest, and disembark at Bangor, Wales. We then hail a taxi, and after an hour's drive along the narrow roads of the beautiful Welsh Snowdonia mountain range, we find ourselves in a rocky private peninsula on Cardigan Bay. We've now arrived at Portmeirion, and we're now in the village. Portmeirion was the lifelong hobby of Sir Clough Williams-Ellis, a British architect born in 1883. It represents the fulfillment of a dream that he had had since the age of 5, the erection of an eye-opening ensemble of buildings through which he could express his unique and somewhat eccentric personality. He began his playful work in 1925, after locating the site he considered perfect, a site only 5 miles from his hometown, and opened the Portmeirion Hotel in 1926 to support further construction. During the next decade, he cleared and developed 20 of his 175 acres, leaving the rest as woods and trails. By working to delicately harmonize his construction with the existing landscape, he became one of the pioneers of the ecology movement. Sir Clough's dream was to create a place of impish amusement, to awaken in visitors a sense of pleasure in architecture. And so, as he says in his book, Portmeirion, The Place and Its Meaning, I filled my village with willful pleasantries, calculated naivetés, forced and faked perspectives, heretical constructions, unorthodox color mixtures, and general architectural levity. Portmeirion's architectural style borrows from many sources, as does its individual buildings. The turret clock was rescued from a demolished brewery, for instance. The ceiling of the town hall was part of a Flintshire mansion about to be torn down, and the colonnade was originally part of an 18th century Quaker copper smelter. Small wonder that Portmeirion is referred to as the home for fallen buildings. Some of Sir Clough's last writings concern Portmeirion, and his words echo sentiments which could easily apply to the Prisoner series itself. What the whole complex really adds up to must still be judged by every individual himself. The place itself must do the talking, and you will approve or detest of what it is trying to say according to your own individual bias. Sir Clough Williams-Ellis died in 1978 at the age of 95, but lived long enough to see his dream world celebrate its 50th anniversary. Most prisoner fans who visit Portmeirion are surprised by how small it seems, not only in area, but also because most of the buildings are slightly scaled down, much like those at Disneyland. There's little sign of prisoner activity on the resort grounds, although we've heard reports that Number 6's house, originally a Portmeirion storeroom, has been converted into a prisoner gift shop. And several times a year, hundreds of members of prisoner fan clubs descend upon the village for their annual conventions. And this dovetails us right into our next topic. Many of you have written in with details of the prisoner fan clubs still in operation. Foremost among these are the Villagers, a prisoner appreciation society. They publish a newsletter called Tally Ho, containing letters, photos, art, and articles. For information, write to Lisa J. Rubin, 5030 Linnean Avenue, Northwest, Washington, D.C., 20008. Another is Friends of the Prisoner. They publish a newsletter called Once Upon a Time, which includes analyses, interviews, and Magooan news. They also have conventions in Portmeirion, Wales. Write to David Lawrence, 104 Alley Street, Clemson, South Carolina, 29631. Back issues of the Green Dome magazine, a fanzine for prisoner enthusiasts, which includes articles, analyses, trivia quizzes, original prisoner fiction, and detailed information about the Secret Agent series, are available from Betsy Hatcher, 1928 South Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19146. Finally, there is 6 of 1, the largest prisoner fan club in existence, with over 2,000 members worldwide. Members received an individually numbered badge, a map of the village, photos, 60 pages of prisoner material, and more. They also publish regular magazines and hold annual conventions in Portmeirion. For information about 6 of 1, write to Bruce Clark, American Coordinator, 6 of 1 Information, Post Office Box 172, Hatfield, Pennsylvania, 19440. Next week's episode is entitled Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling, and concerns a radically different type of plot for this series. For the first time, the village rulers need the prisoner's help, and their attempts to find out why he resigned take a back seat. But this question, why did the prisoner resign, is one of the questions most central to the plot of the series. Yet despite repeated attempts by various number twos to find out, the most we ever learn is that it was a matter of conscience. But just what was this matter of conscience that instigated his resignation? Well, I have a theory, and our new episode order supports it. Last week, in Living in Harmony, number 2 attempted to break the prisoner by getting him to kill on command. And in tonight's episode, the prisoner actively plunged into the village's affairs to prevent an assassination. So we might get the idea that he resigned when he was ordered, as a spy, to assassinate someone. Secret Agent John Drake would never agree to cold-blooded murder. This is just the thing that would morally outrage him and spur him to get out. But who was he ordered to assassinate? We'll discover next week in Do Not Forsake Me the most logical candidate, his old friend, Dr. Seltzman. In this episode, it's stated that the prisoner was the last person to see Seltzman before they both disappeared. Perhaps he was warning his old friend to go into hiding, whereupon he resigned in indignation. Well, you'll be able to judge for yourself next week when we present Do Not Forsake Me, and we'll also take a peek behind the scenes at the making of The Prisoner, so be sure to join us. Until then, I'm Scott Apel, and I'll be theorizing you.
The programs you enjoy on KTEH